Mr. Jeffrey,
Oh, Seth,
what's going on, my man?
I have been really looking forward to connecting with you in this way and to have our conversations, which are so powerful, be shared
Yes, me too, my
with
man.
with the world.
Yes, I am very, very excited. It's really cool though. I mean, for those obviously, no, just about nobody here knows. We've gotten to know each other over the past year since the pandemic started, and for those that don't know either of us personally, we found out via our first conversation that our experiences in life and specifically medicine kind of really paralleled each other in a very, very beautiful way. So I'm really happy to have you on here, my man. It's been a long time coming, and I am very grateful to have you on here. So
Yeah, thank you. The only difference is that you had the will to stay and make change from the inside, and I rebelliously ran for the
for the
woods,
mountains.
for the mountains. Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about that. I mean, I don't know if I totally agree with you, but I know what you mean by it. But I think you're doing just as much the impact from the outside as I am from the inside. I think that dual force is something really special. So I'm happy to be on here with you. I really look forward to doing some work and workshops and different things with you in the future. I know some things we've been talking about, so I am really, really looking forward to it. And everybody that's in here, thank you for joining. This is the Art of Mindful Medicine, episode 26. And as you can tell, I have a good buddy of mine on today, and I'm very excited about this. I am, of course, Dr. Seth Gilson, biological dentist, certified yoga teacher, speaker, and personal coach. And my awesome guest today is Dr. Jeffrey Shub. So Jeff is a medical doctor who focused his practice on orthopedic surgery and has been published in multiple foot and ankle reconstruction journals. However, these days he's better known as the Urban Barefoot, a holistic sustainability advisor who travels the world helping individuals and companies expand their potential as well as creating awareness of foot health and its impact on the human body. With several years of experience in building businesses and consulting for some of the most progressive companies in the world, combined with his medical degree and a profound, sorry, just lost my position, and a profound
Let's
passion
just
for the
say,
human experience, Jeff is uniquely suited. I'll let you chime in. Jeff is uniquely
yeah.
suited to help others create the life of their dreams. Jeff is also a student of his own method, which is something I'm excited to talk about, and feels so strongly that the current healthcare model is not designed for sustainability that he made the unpopular decision to leave it behind. Through his social media platform, The Urban Barefoot, Jeff is now spreading the sustainability message around the world. He's a traveling speaker, consultant, and coach and works with companies of all sizes on unlocking their superpowers in everything from leadership and culture to meditation and running technique. When Jeff isn't working or traveling, you can find him moving, meditating, or learning about the human experience. And I love his mantra. His mantra is to lead with giving and to be open to receiving and become one with everything and everyone on his journey. And to be perfectly honest, from everything that I've come to know about you, that sentence sums up quite a bit right there. So, as you were saying, what were you going to add to that?
Yeah, I'm just a guy who loves to learn, to grow, to give, and yeah, to connect. And that write up is old, and it almost feels crusty, and and I, the truth is, I don't know who I am, right? Like, I it's changing every moment, every day. It's evolving, shedding, releasing. It's been so beautiful, especially the last few months
Mm-hmm.
of leaving behind even more, and letting go of more of the things that my ego wants to grip onto for safety and
Right.
stability.
It's funny how you say that you don't know who you are because I actually quite simply agree with you because the more I study, whether it's Taoism, yoga, Buddhism, the things that I read about, and they say, and we ask, well, who are you? And then we have these labels like I'm a doctor, I was an athlete, I live here, I live there, like all the things that I do, but that's not essentially who you are. I mean, and getting to the essence of who you are is taking off the masks, peeling away the layers, as you said, and doing that work is so incredible. And I'm literally like scratching on the surface. You've definitely gotten a little deeper in it than I have, and I'm excited to join in on some of that. But like I said, I think for people that no matter what you do in life, whatever activities take up your day in the what we call work, it's so important that we take off these masks and get in touch with ourselves. And I think that's what you're doing. That's one of the messages that you're spreading. I believe I think one of your focuses is doing that with men, which is awesome because there's we need a lot more of that, and it has nothing to do with distracting from women or putting down or making less than, but it's about actually breaking ourselves down to build ourselves back up to help women build themselves up, and it's
Yeah,
about this perpetual
it's
system.
it's the opposite of forgetting about women. It's
Hmm.
actually in the highest service of women. You know, I in it it may, I it's a lot of sadness comes up in me because there's all these women that are like asking for us to show up, and I don't even know what that means. Like I who do a lot of this work don't know what that means, and I realize that we're not going to find out until we get together and figure it out together
Yeah,
as men, you
yeah.
know. And there's this I think a lot about authenticity and what authenticity means. And what I've realized is that authenticity is the real authenticity is acknowledging that there is no true me. There's no true I. There's like 10 different eyes that speak in
Mm.
different, at different times. And it's represented in how I interact with different people. Like when I'm here in Puerto Rico with my parents, and when I talk to them, a different eye comes out. And when I
Hmm.
talk to my friends, a different eye comes out. When I talk to potential clients, a different eye comes out. And it's like as I become more present with that, that's where authenticity starts to bubble up.
Yeah.
What's real and authentic is how I feel right now in this moment, and nothing, and really nothing else.
And embracing that each version of yourself, so to speak, because
Yeah.
I mean we have different aspects of our personality and who we are. Like you said, you present yourself, not being fake, but you just are who you are with different groups of people. And I mean we're kind of like chameleons in a sense that with our social capabilities and things like that. And
Yeah.
it's not about hiding it, it's about revealing all of those things about yourself, and like I said, embracing it. So I think it's an awesome thing that you're doing. It really is.
And to wrap it back around, as men, there are a lot of like masks that we've we've been told that we should put on, and we've accepted, and that we've put on. Nobody can put it on for us.
Yeah.
We put it on for ourselves. And it's this whole thing of like, dick measuring and competition, sports, uh money, like who's better than who. it's
Hmm.
it's really, really crazy. And we create all of these personas to be able to cope with all of that.
Yeah.
And this is part of the men's work also. And it's the same for women, and it's totally different.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, and it's the masks are totally different. And I feel the pain of women every day, and having to change their shape and their bodies and their things.
Yeah.
And the feeder is one of them. Looking taller, having sexy legs. Like, God, if there are any women listening, like, fuck that.
Hmm.
Be you, and your body is fucking perfect. It's beautiful, and like, this is the barefoot message,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? It's like
Yeah.
your body's got it. It's all there. It's beautiful, and it's so powerful. And like, and if as I connect more with it, I awaken this potential and these possibilities.
Yeah. I think into the aspect of what you're talking about, it's that people, they try and live up to some kind of expectation or something. But as long as, like you said before, you are your authentic self, and you respect your body, and you learn how to embrace that self love, however that comes out for you. But real authentic self love. and with that responsibility and accountability for who you are, I mean, there's no greater kind of beauty that you can see. And then, and one particular type of shape is not going to, it's not going to embrace that at all.
Well, that the shape that is yours, and
Yeah.
it's the perfect one.
Because you are only
And
one.
this is mindful medicine, right?
Yep.
Because we operate under this assumption, I feel, in medicine, in the Western medical model, that the body is broken,
Yeah.
that it doesn't know how to take care of itself, it doesn't know what to do, it needs to be supported, and we you need to give your power away to somebody else to figure out what's wrong with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm definitely want to hear more about that from you with regards to the feet in a few minutes, because the more and more I've come to understand over the years that if we put the body in the right environment, mentally, physically, emotionally, community wise, I mean, especially obviously with the food we eat. I mean, these things all come together and have a huge impact on our bodies. And like you said, our bodies know how to heal from that place. And we just have
Yeah.
to essentially give ourselves the right kind of fuel, like the gas in our car. Simplest example I can give.
It's like that.
So I know that was a great preview for everybody about who and what Jeff is and does. But I always like to start with gratitude. So we're
Mm.
going to backtrack a little bit. I would like to know three things that you are grateful for today.
Right now, I'm grateful for connecting more with the way that my love for movement. I'm really grateful for that. I had a beautiful yoga practice this morning that I actually led um, a woman in a practice here, and I love moving. Like, that's my meditation, and I'm also learning how not to move. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I'm also grateful for learning about stillness and spaciousness and silence, and I'm grateful for this awareness, this increasing the like all the opportunities to become more aware of how I show up, what are the impacts of what I do and what I don't do.
Mm-hmm.
Those are three things that are really present for me today.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you. Um, so I want to rewind it, like really rewind it. Tell us a little bit about little Jeff. Where's your little Jeff? Where's Jeff
Oh,
from? What was your youth like?
well, that's no better question than right now that I'm home in Puerto Rico, and that's where I grew up.
Sweet.
I grew up here in this beautiful island. It's part of the U.S. and also really not part of the U.S. And I grew up in a traditional conservative Jewish home that offered me a lot of comforts and a lot of freedom, of also of like, you know, my parents, although we were very conservative, my especially my dad, he was like, you know, it's always like, go make your mistakes, you know,
Oh,
go
that's awesome.
go figure it out. And I actually had a important conversation with my mom yesterday about, you know, like, who am I now, and what's life like for me now. And that's to say that, you know, my mom always gave me like infinite amount of love and attention. It's like, you know, she always said she'd take a bullet for us immediately without without
Hmm.
question. And and for men, at some point we got to cut that, like, got to cut that cord with the mother, otherwise, like, there's no flying, you know. And every men's work book says the same thing, like, at some point you got to, like, we got to detach. And I still feel this attachment with her, and it's comfortable, and I have a safety net, and, you know, and this keeps me from flying, this keeps me from continuing to elevate beyond what I think is possible.
Hmm.
But that's like a little glimpse of my childhood. And then you know, very much about sports and moving, and you know, doing crazy adrenaline things.
Hmm.
Like that was my childhood, and then also having this crazy interest in the human body and the human experience. That was always a big thing, and so that's what drove me to go to medical school. My dad's a doctor. I love the human body, and science was my thing. So I went to medicine. And I don't know where you want me to stop
No, no. I just want to. I
in
mean
that
that. Yeah,
question.
yeah. No, that's all. It's all good. I just want to know, let people know a little bit more about your youth, like how kind of how your earlier years started, and then we'll get into the medical school and things like that. So I mean that's good. I mean there's no there's no expectations of where it
Yeah.
goes. I think that was beautiful. I mean it's really funny that you are back home right now, where you grew up. That's actually like you said, a beautiful place to start. So, I mean, to add on, I mean, I was brought up Jewish as well, more reformed, but I think having that so quote unquote safety net is a beautiful thing too. I mean, you can, like as you say, cut the cord, but also knowing that you have support in your life allows you to fly and maybe even fly a little bit further than you would if you knew you didn't have that per se. So I think that's also an important perspective for a lot of people to understand.
It has helped in big ways for me to really embody and feel what abundance feels like.
Hmm.
I'm not going to take that away from it. And in this work that I'm coming into and that I'm understanding, there's like this like really big version of Jeff, like really big, really um and really of this Jeff that's of service, like infinitely of service, and it's like of service to the world and to myself, like flowing back and forth. And as long as I have something to hold on to, I won't go there.
Hmm.
Like as long as I have ground and like and my ego can grab onto something, like, oh well, as it's okay, my parents will take care of me, like that will keep me from
Oh
going
yeah,
to my biggest potential,
for sure.
and will keep me numb in some amount. And like I'm working on that. Like what it's I just did this big workshop in the work that I do, this like the emotional body work, and understanding how much comes from our upbringing and our relationship to our parents. And I'm here now, and it's like it's been my commitment is to connect with them
Hmm.
and to get to know them, and for them to get to know me. I realized the other day that they probably are the people who know me the least, the people who I've been with the most time in my life and who know me the least.
Yeah.
And that it's so sad, right? It's like so, and it's because I live in this personality of the son and mom and dad, and it's like I want to rebuild a relationship where it's Jeff, Tanya, and Leo, and not mom, dad, son,
Hmm.
because we can never be I can never be in full connection as long as I'm playing a role.
Yeah. It's about building on top of and creating or kind of growing that relationship or and kind of rebirthing that relationship from where it's been. So I think that's a beautiful process and I'm good for you for doing it, man. That's
It's
amazing,
so
and most of
fucking
us don't
hard.
do it. Yeah,
It's hard.
I know. So I mean, of course, your parents, but I mean, was there somebody else in your life that would you say was most influential while growing up?
My grandmother is the person who comes up for me when you ask that.
Hmm.
She's and it's because of like her being this like the glue and the rock of our bigger family.
Hmm.
And I recognize how much it's because of this power that she had for telling stories. She has this incredible ability to tell stories and to just have people connect deeper with themselves
Hmm.
through the stories she tells is really yeah, just so inspiring. And I pushed her to write a book, and she finally wrote it,
Oh
like
wow,
about the story of my family. And it's like a treasure. It's like
that's
I
awesome.
couldn't imagine a more important thing to have available than that for me.
That's beautiful. That's a really that in itself is a cool story right there.
Yeah.
So wonderful. It's amazing how some of our older generations, like our grandparents, have this knack or way of, like you said, being the glue of our extended family. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. So now getting back a little bit towards medical school, what were some of your goals, or what did you feel that your purpose was when you were entering medical school?
I had no fucking clue.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
had no clue. You know, I lived on this very concrete path. Like I was I could sit here and tell you that it was all like laid out for me, and that's a victim story. Like it doesn't that's bullshit. Like I made every decision I made, but I didn't have the consciousness to hold like what being alive was about.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't know, and I just went with what made sense in our current world. I come from a certain family. I'm entitled to a certain way of living. Medicine works. I have a history of it in my family, and it made great money. And I love the human body, and this whole concept of loving the human body and the human experience is kind of where it all started to break down for me, because you go in the first 8 weeks, you take anatomy and you're cutting bodies open and you're really learning, and it's like amazing. You're going deeper into the human body and seeing it inside and out and learning every process of it. And then all of a sudden it flips into problem, drug, problem, external solution,
Mm-hmm.
external support. And I knew since I was little, one of the things that I was always very clear about is that my body knows what to do. I don't have to do anything. Like
It just innately,
literally,
like, you
and
knew that.
yeah, and that comes from my dad, because whenever something would happen, he'd be like, "Just leave it alone." And there was also this juxtaposition, because he was the one that everybody from my community came
Mm-hmm.
to get prescriptions, to get treated, to get fixed. And then if something would happen to me, it would be like, don't worry, everything will be fine, just leave it alone. And that was really that like it really ingrained in me,
Yeah,
this concept of like, you got it, your body's got it.
that's
And
awesome.
so I'm in medical school, and I'm like, oh, like this doesn't feel good, this doesn't make sense, I don't like this.
Yeah,
There's no sense of individual responsibility or sovereignty or power in it. And like I couldn't use those words before, but I have them now available, so I use them now. And then stacked on top of that, there's this crazy emotional abuse that happens in that world. This
oh yeah.
hierarchical, shut your fucking mouth, like don't speak unless you're spoken to. And I read this book recently called Coyote Medicine,
Mm-hmm.
which is about a man who trained as a doctor and also as a Native American healer, and like the huge contrast of those two worlds. And he recounted his stories of medicine, and I felt the pain of all of these dynamics that I had like totally put out of my awareness, because they were so painful, like they were so hard. And as I read the book, like I was just like breaking down and healing just by reading it, because I was able to bring those events of my past back up and relive them from this awareness that I have now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's abusive, and we do it because we want to get there, and there's this end place that we're going to go, and we're going to make all this money, and we're going to be respected, and it's all feeding itself, and
It's like
it's
an
all
initiation
so
process.
it's a pseudo initiation
Yeah,
process, yes, because
it's like hazing in a sense.
it initiates you into a very toxic pattern.
Yeah,
Like
it can. I
yeah.
mean, for those of us, and it's nothing against people that are MDs and practicing and things like that. I mean, it's just this is something that we all went through or are going through, and basically what we're saying is that there's a lot of modifications that can be made to this process that can be a lot better and healthier for the people that are going through it and the people that are going to be treated after those people go through it.
Yeah, yeah, and here's Ray that just commented, and he's actually one of my a traveler that I've worked with, you know, sort of coaching and someone who's, you know, given his at some point gave a lot of power away to the medical system and is regaining that power, and
Mm-hmm.
like that's where it starts. It's like, can we create a system where it's like the origin point is about holding the responsibility and the power within and not giving it away to what the journals say and what the pharmaceutical companies say and
Mm-hmm.
what, you know, and then because then that trickles down into like give your power away to the doctor,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, there's
And
a
this
place
is
for
like,
those things,
yeah,
but it's not a superiority, and it should certainly not be the main focus.
well there I argue that there's never a place for giving your power away.
Oh, no, no, no.
And
I mean pharmaceuticals
yeah,
and things like that. Yeah, yeah.
no, yeah, yeah. There's a place for all of those things, and there is no place for anyone to give their power away to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. That
And this is a bigger conversation about
yeah.
the world that we're currently in, which is
Definitely.
all about giving, you know, everyone, people, you know, it's like a way of feeling safe. Like I don't feel safe, so I hand my power over to you, and you don't feel safe, so having my power makes you feel safe.
It's basically a way to avoid responsibility, unfortunately, and that we do that when there's a
That's it.
significant lack of self love. And again, it's not, I'm not putting down or dismissing anybody for doing anything of these things. It's just a significant, in my opinion, a significant lack of awareness. And
That's it.
once
It's
these,
awareness.
yeah, and
It's
once,
awareness because none of these things are bad or
yeah,
wrong. It's just if I am not conscious of it, I can't do anything about it,
yeah,
and they just produce different outcomes.
yeah. It's like
And
informed consent. Like,
the outcome that we're seeing right now is that, you know, 67% of people are overweight or obese. Everybody's unhealthy. 1 out of 2 people get cancer. So like it's just not working.
yeah,
Whatever is we're doing from a health perspective is not working.
yeah.
And yet here we sit like trying to do more of the same, like fixing the problem with the same problem.
The same methodology. I mean, you're going through
Yeah.
it's actually it's kind of like the definition of insanity, actually. But I mean, to put it bluntly, but I agree with you. When cardiovascular disease is the number one killer just in the United States alone, and we know and have proven through generations, research, history. I mean, it doesn't matter the type of study, whether it's double-blind placebo or a longitudinal study that shows different things about different cultures and things like that. It is a man-made or a nutrition-made disease, and when that's so blatantly obvious and in our face, and we just refuse to actually do anything about fixing the problem, rather than just putting a mask over it or putting a band-aid over it, there's a real psychological mishap there. I would say.
Well, that's where we can play in the emotional body. We can have a conversation about it because you just said it. We all know, we all know that it's about, you know, nutrition and about exercise. Like we all know these things, yet why don't we do them? Why don't we do it? Why? And it's these emotional blocks. Like the emotional body is not talked about.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when you're unstable? They say you have it's mental health, and it's not it's that's just not true. It's not covering the full spectrum of what's going on.
Yeah.
There's an emotional body that we all have, and this emotional body is really the source. It's kind of like I call it like the like remote control between like your spiritual being and the physical world. It's like that's the place where we can play, and the emotional body is so poorly understood. Like we're getting to know the energetic body and spirituality and love yourself and like yes, like oh meditation and yoga, but like there's and then there's you know, we know the physical body, we know the intellectual body, we know all those things like pathologically well. spiritual body is all coming up alive, and we're all reconnecting with these practices. But where's the emotional body? Like, where is how you feel about something? Like, where does that sit? We don't know, and we don't have the tools, and so that's where I focus my intention these days and my energy. It's like emotional body personal training.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to your personal trainer to work your
Yeah,
physical body. Like,
it's one of the pillars of health for sure. It just somehow became invisible and put in the background for 99% of people, unfortunately. But I think that's why I am so attracted to you and the work that you're doing, and others like yourself, and why I've embraced this aspect of life, like literally. I was going to say head first, but in your case, it'd be feet first.
heart first.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Heart first.
That's really what it actually has been. Is just like almost like a belly flop, just like heart landing first, and it's awesome. And I mean, it's terrifying, and it brings you to your emotional limits. But that's how we grow. I I can't tell you how much better of a person I've become and how much better my relationships are just by getting to know myself more. I mean that phrase "know thyself" is, I mean, it is probably one of the most important few words ever uttered in history, and we just look past it without thinking twice about it. And I love this journey and this path that's been so instrumental in my life the past few years. So,
and know that, oh, what a hard concept, know thyself, because every day, as I hold space or space is held for me and I hold space for others, like, I get to know more and more aspects and angles and parts of me and the spectrum of what is me. And I look back at 6 months ago, I thought I had a great understanding of myself, and now here I am being like, you had no
no
idea
clue.
what was going on. And this is the pain, of the path, which is that, like, it's just it really does not end, and
Of course.
it keeps getting I keep realizing new things, and going deeper into the subtleties of my patterns, and how I've destroyed intimacy and connection, and like the things that I've wanted in my life. And we can go about, yeah, it's all meant to be, and this is part of the path. I get it. I know all the intellectual, spiritual things that there. I know all the
I was
quotes.
going to say all the quotes and all the, like
I
the trigger words and
yeah.
phrases.
I know all the quotes, and if I choose to set those on the side, and really be present with how complicated and how painful it is, and even in that, there's a story that pain is bad. And this is really big in the medical world. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, someone feels pain, we gotta get rid of it.
Yeah.
And it's like this really big rescuer role, that dynamic that exists in medicine, which is like, if I come to you with a problem, the first move is fix it. And I argue that the first move might be, okay, you have a problem. What else?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that problem? I can't tell you how many times people have come to me with pain or like physical body problems, issues, and we've gotten into the real core of what that problem is about. And by the end of an hour and a half, that problem is gone.
Yeah.
And we've not done anything more than have an interaction.
Awesome.
I'll give you an example, give you a great example. This is my favorite one, actually. So it was this woman she was having foot pain, like this unexplained foot pain. And someone sent her over to me, and I go see her, and we sit down, and we drop in together. And the first thing she says to me is, I feel like I can't put my foot down.
Hmm.
I feel like I can't put my foot down. And anybody on here, you might know, putting your foot down is like it's a figure of speech for being able to stand your
Yeah.
ground or like set a boundary. And I go, okay, you know, it's like you can't make this so easy for me. Like you can't you got to make it a little bit more challenging. And so we went in, and and there's a disconnection from anger, from conscious anger, and like this inability. And this is very present for women. So for women, like really, like if you're here, like listen to this. Your conscious anger is your power for setting boundaries and for not getting taken advantage of, or feeling abused. Like anger is the energy source of the warrior of being able to hold a boundary energetically, not being an asshole, not being a bitch, not like lashing out, but holding an energetic boundary where I look at you and I know, like, okay, I see you.
Hmm.
And I'm, there's no, you don't, someone that does not get messed with. It doesn't mean that you're not graceful. It doesn't mean that you don't have this flow and this beautiful feminine energy. It just means that I see that you have a powerful connection to your conscious anger, to this feeling energy that that has this warrior archetype present in it. And so, I know I can feel safe that you're not going to get fucked with.
Hmm.
And when I hold workshops for women, this is the work that we do, because there's this story about being polite and about being nice and like, like being accommodating, and it's like, fuck that, like
I
go
mean, it's
go
about having
be.
boundaries too. I mean, which is kind of what you're describing. I mean, when people and that, like your story, like when you were able to put your foot down, it means you're able to establish boundaries and to hold yourself and others accountable for those boundaries.
It's just having this energetic presence.
Hmm.
And we have a story about anger, that it's violent and it's aggressive and it's, and it's not okay. And that's like a wounded, emotional, unconscious anger
Hmm.
that is, yeah. Whenever I work with women, it's that this is usually what we do. Like we really awaken a conscious connection to anger.
Beautiful. Um,
Yeah.
so we've talked a lot about the emotional body, yoga, spirituality, and things like that. But we haven't even, oddly enough, mentioned the word mindfulness. So what does mindfulness mean to you?
Yeah, it's funny because I think we've been dancing around it, and it's like
Hmm.
this awareness of how my actions, my thoughts, my words, my actions, and my intentions affect others. And it was actually in this in coyote medicine, he talks about what is the difference between a doctor and a healer. And he states that the difference is that a healer understands the full consequences of their actions,
Hmm.
of their decisions. So, and like you can think about it as like a doctor is like, oh, there's someone's feeling sick, medication, like solution. And and it's like a very reactive, very fast thing. The difference with the healer is that the healer stops, says, whoa, okay, time out. Okay, there's this sickness going on. It's like, what else? What is really going on? What else? What's going on with your family? What's your day like?
Yeah.
Because before I give you a solution, I have to fully understand the spectrum of your experience
Hmm.
and what's really going on, and also have this connection to like the energetics of it all. Like this is something that's really hard to talk about and really hard to grasp, and I don't know if it'll even make sense. It's because it's not something that I can fully explain, but it's like
Hmm.
slowing down. Like every space has an energy. It has these like non-human beings that are taking care of the space, and that are that need certain things and that have certain things to share. Like whenever you get a download, like for all the spiritual people, you get a download, like where
Hmm.
does that come from? Where does it come from? I don't
Hmm.
know. Like I there must be something. there's got to be something around
Well,
that's
that to me, that reminds me of something you were talking about before, and it comes back to that one source that we're all connected to. And like you said, you learn more about yourself every time you, or on the regular, and every time you hold space for somebody, you experience something or learn more about yourself because you see yourself more in others. And that's, I mean, that's all that same thing. And I mean, like you said, it's really hard to put it into words to explain, but I mean, I guess that's why people try and write books on it. um, but no, I mean, to me, I'm
books.
right there with you, and I totally understand and appreciate what you're saying and what you do for yourself and others. And it's all about personal self growth, and that's essentially what that is. When every time you learn more about yourself, it's not, it's a change in respect that it's not always necessarily a change in direction, or has to be like this huge catastrophic change, but it's just a leveling up for yourself. And like you said before, there's infinite amount of levels, and how fast or slow you go
Yeah.
is, I mean, very very unique to the individual. So
Mm.
so I don't think we I mean, I know when you said when you were in medical school you kind of had this doesn't feel right. But when did it first? Was there a moment that you first became aware of what mindful practices were, and how that kind of plays in life?
So I it it's like my life was taking me down this path, right? Like very slowly and very painfully taking me down this path. And it wasn't until I left the medical world and I was in consulting for a couple of years, like doing this really cool culture design for companies. And then I had the opportunity to start my own business with a business partner, and it was a podiatry group practice. So
Mm-hmm.
circling back to the feet again. And I, I had all this experience in foot and ankle surgery, and I wasn't seeing patients. I was running the business, and at the same time, I was asking a lot of questions because my stubborn thing is like I'm not.
Being a
I
human.
this something, yeah, something about the way that we're treating patients, like just not resonating with me, specifically around orthotics. I didn't get it. Like we had this orthotist prosthetician that would come in every other week, and he would fit orthotics for almost every patient. Like it was like every patient that we could get to buy a pair of orthotics, like because like and it's operating under this thought that the foot is broken, it doesn't know what to do, and so we have to like brace it. So and he came and he made me a pair, and like I tried it in my shoe, and I was like, okay, cool, but like why, what, like I don't get it. And then I took them out and I never put them in again, and then I started to ask a lot of questions and read research and do it, and I discovered this barefoot thing, like this, like, oh wow, wait a second, like this, it was like remembering, oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, body, and then oh yeah, and these shoes, like these shoes are, they're not like feet, and they're blocking our feet from moving, and they're reshaping our feet. And I'm like, and I had this like huge awakening moment, and from that point, my reason for being on this earth turned on, and all of a sudden the switch flipped from like it's about me to it's about this.
Mm-hmm.
It's about this, and I need to share this with the world, and I use this word consciously, like I need the world to know about this, and I need to, and this is, and I realize now it's like it was like the being of service started to flow through me, and it was not about me anymore. And then that at that point everything like was able to start shedding off of me, like
Mm-hmm.
all of the extra shit was started to slowly come off, and because I had this thing that I needed to be of service for. So anything that wasn't that was blocking me from being in that. So, these mindfulness practices and yoga, well, the yoga started a little bit before, and it definitely helped to
Mm-hmm.
awaken that part of me, because we can go into this concept of like the five bodies that we have as humans, and but like yeah, like this art, like one of the bodies, the last body is this archetypal body, and it's like the body of like what you were sent or what you chose to come to this earth to do. And like once that awakens, everything starts to fall away. Like everything is a hindrance to me being present, to being of service to the people around me
And when you
and
find
to
that,
the world.
when that happens, what I mean, in your personal experience and what you've seen in others, what are the potential health benefits of that?
That's it. Like everything extra starts to fall away. That is the health benefit of it. Like I start to take care of myself more because I need to be healthy and present for the work. And I start, and it's like, yeah, it's like I have this thing that I need to accomplish. And I guess call it purpose or call it um your mission or whatever you want to call it. So the thing is, a lot of people will play with this concept of finding your purpose. But the truth is, from my experience, that like it finds you and it flows through you when you are doing certain other things.
Yeah.
So let me, I want to talk about this because I think it's important. It's like there's this idea that we have 5 bodies, and in different practices there are different versions of this, and I just want to focus on what matters for the purposes of like our purpose or what we're meant to, why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like the physical body, right? We know it really well. We touched on this briefly. Intellectual body, we know really well, like too well, pathologically well. Emotional body and the energetic body. And like these, every body has like its food, it has its pain, it has its ecstasy, and then there's a fifth body, which is the archetypal body, which I just talked about. And until the 4 bodies, the 4 other bodies are being nourished, the fifth body doesn't wake up. It doesn't come alive. So it's like my offer is that instead of trying to find your purpose, focus on nourishing your 4 bodies
Mm-hmm.
and watch as your purpose just wakes up, as it just comes to life, and you become like this channel, this tube through which your purpose flows through, and then you come into this space of like, I don't exist anymore. It's almost like that. It's like it's not me. It's about this purpose, this big thing that like is so important. And then that starts to feed back. So like I take better care of myself physically. I read more books about these topics that are important to me. I commit to doing the spiritual practices, and then I tap into my emotional core and I start to feel the pain of everything that I'm seeing. Like I used to be the kind of guy that would, yeah, especially in medical school, like the numbness is so high in medical school that I would like use plastic and paper plates and cups because I didn't want to bother with washing the dishes, and I didn't have time for that.
Yeah.
And so and now I realize that when I see like a plastic bottle or something on the ground, it fucking kills me.
Yeah.
And like this is so important for me. And like I was numbing that. And what's the result of that? Like what is the result of that? It's like I would abuse myself in other ways so that I didn't have to feel that. Like I would harm myself in other ways to like keep numbing myself and going deeper into that. So, like going out and drinking alcohol and smoking weed and like, going to the gym like crazy and trying, like, spending 80% of my energy trying to like reel women into my like web, my sexual web of like of bullshit. And then my reason for being here came alive, and all of that started to fall away. And and then now I have a backpack,
Mm.
and I lost like 20 pounds of extra weight that I didn't need. And I take care of my body and I listen to it and I let it tell me what it wants instead of letting my mind tell it what it thinks it needs.
It's beautiful, man. Really is. Awesome. Um, so to quick recap on the 4 bodies for people. So you have the physical body. Obviously, these, I don't think these are in any particular order. the emotional body, the intellectual body, and you said the fourth one was what?
The energetic or
The
the
energetic
spiritual
body.
body.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the energetic body is the one that like senses spaces, that like feels when it's in a sacred space, that like walks into a Buddhist monastery and it's like, whoa, like something big is happening here, right? Without any like, it's not intellectual. It's like it's a feeling, and it also knows like if someone's too close or too far away, or if like it's, yeah, like energetic space. Like if there's resistance happening between us in a conversation, the energetic body feels that and
Yeah.
understands that.
Yeah. No, and I truly appreciate your vulnerability and the things you share. I mean, it's beautiful, and I mean, it just shows an immense amount of growth, even just from our first conversation a year ago where we connected. I mean, I can see, I can, no, I can hear that like there's almost like a different tone and a different frequency of your voice and things. So it's beautiful, man. Um, so I want to shift a little bit to talking a little bit more about feet and the things that you're actually doing now, even though I know we've been kind of walking around what you're doing. But since finishing school, what exactly has changed the most in your approach to healthy feet, and why our feet are so important?
Let's see. The most important part of this conversation about feet is remembering that my body has all the tools and it was built to be a human.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that in mind, I like I look at the world differently. I look at the way that I take care of my feet differently, because through that lens, then all I have to do is, you know, maybe protect my feet a little bit, because my this like it I start where I am.
Mm-hmm.
I had been wearing shoes for 25 years. So where I was that I had these weak feet that were misshapen and misformed, and that were that and the skin and with a skin under my feet that wasn't capable of holding me up in all the terrains.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to wear barefoot shoes, meaning shoes that are functional, shoes that respect the anatomy and the physiology of my feet, right? The shape and the function of my feet. And then I started to kind of wean out of it slowly, because I started to feel my feet getting stronger and recognizing that I needed to challenge them more and more so that they can get stronger and more and become more anti-fragile, or become more capable of taking care of
Mm-hmm.
themselves. And that was the biggest change. And so people ask me, what should I do? What should I do? It's like, okay, what should you do? Check in with yourself about where you're at with your feet. I mean, this is about anything, right? It's
Yeah.
not just about feet. Check in about where you're at, and start to take steps in a more natural direction.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And and yeah, I'm seeing some questions. I don't know if you want to like address
Um,
them or not.
yeah. Somebody said something about is it that our body we become more porous, um, with what you were discussing before. But I don't know. I'm going to defer to you on that one. I don't know what they're precisely what they're asking about.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what this is referring to. I have a feeling that it might be about like that these bodies are not so individual, right? That they're actually much more like intertwined with each other. And
Mm-hmm.
if it is that, it's absolutely true, because what our emotions affect our intellectual approach, it affects our physical body and its nourishment affects how we're able to think and how
Mm-hmm.
much we're able to feel, and the energetic body, it's all intertwined. And
100%.
I present these frameworks as just ways of creating more awareness and consciousness, so that we can examine what is the next thing, what is the next move, like where am I lacking maybe, or where am I not feeding myself enough to connect more to what I'm meant to do in this
Mm-hmm.
world. Because that's also an assumption that that's what you want. Like that if you want to connect more with why you exist on this earth and what you're meant to do, then this might be a good experiment to try. And again, caution, like, don't give your power away to this or to me. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want it.
Yeah.
Keep it and choose which experiments you're going to try.
Yeah.
Feel into what makes sense for you.
Yeah. And
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 that's
grow at your own pace. I mean, that's really what
there's
it's
a
about.
speed there's a speed limit to growth.
Mm-hmm.
It and I don't know what that speed limit
I was gonna
is.
say
It's
everybody's speed is probably different. So, um, so you mentioned something about your feet when for I think you said 25 years wearing shoes and things like that, and myself included. I've definitely been more barefoot this past year, but I mean, obviously, like you said, there were some issues with your feet and things. Are there any common chronic issues that people struggle with that stem from their feet, whether it's in general or just simply due to wearing shoes?
I would argue with a high level of fear that most physical body problems are due to the feet. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, like, musculoskeletal problems, because it starts there at the
Mm-hmm.
foundation. Every movement pattern has a source in the feet.
That's
And
a strong argument.
if you look at the elderly, number one problem in the elderly is falls,
Yeah.
balance issues and falls. And we've worked with physical therapists who work with geriatric patients, older patients, and we'll go in there and they'll be doing these tests and stuff and like these exercises, and then the elderly people are like struggling, and then it was like, just take off their shoes for a moment and let's see how they do. And unequivocally they do better.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I argue that the reason that balance issues exist outside of vestibular, like inner ear problems, and like the is that people's feet are turned off. They're disconnected. The foot is like one of the most powerful sensors you have in your body. It is what connects you to the earth. We are bipedal, so our connection to the earth is through our feet.
Mm-hmm.
And you can argue that the feet are as powerful as the eyes. Like, that's how much sensory input they gather. And so we're missing out on a huge percentage of our sensory ability.
Because it's desensitized to the shoes, I guess.
Yeah, the cushioning, and then also they deform based on the shape of our shoes. Like, if you look down at your feet and you have a bunion, or your foot looks like it's shaped like a conventional shoe,
Mm-hmm.
that's because you've been wearing a conventional shoe for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean that everybody who's wearing conventional shoes is going to have misshapen feet, but most people do. Like, if you look at the bottom of your foot and you notice that your arch is really high and you don't have a good like column on the side of your foot that has good ground contact, that's because you've worn shoes and you have a really stiff foot. If you see that you have a flat foot, that's because your foot's collapsed because you've worn shoes for your whole life and it's been supported, and your foot, just your genetics has favored your foot collapsing versus becoming stiff. 80% of people have a high arch, which
Mm-hmm.
is a stiff shoe shaped foot. And then there's another percentage that have flat feet, and then there's a very small percentage that have a strong natural foot, like a very small percentage. And so low back problems, neck problems, knee problems, hip problems, it all starts at the feet.
Yeah.
And it all and then we could talk about chairs, right? Like, people sitting in chairs all the time, and it's like everything that has a cushion is part of the problem, and none of those are the problem, because all of them are about us and the decisions that we've made about
Yeah.
how we interact with the world, which is all goes back to this emotional thing
Mm-hmm.
about like wanting to be comfortable. Pain is bad.
Mm-hmm. Pain
It's
lets you
like,
know you're alive. That's the way I look at it.
yeah, like, people say, oh, I just want to be happy. I'm like, no, I just want to feel alive.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's my point of reference. Like, and then by feeling alive, then joy is part of that.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah.
And I assume um, there's exercises for people that have these different kind of foot anomalies or disorders and things like that. So I encourage people to reach out to Jeff or do some research online to see what kind of exercise you can do, and not just try and stick a different kind of shoe or orthotic or something in the current shoe that you're using. Um, so
Yeah. So
that,
this question that
yeah.
came up is great. So like I said, stiff high arch foot and a flat foot are both products of conventional footwear, and you have to start wherever you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's like if you have a flat foot, you're not going to just go barefoot and
Yeah.
fuck it and I'm out and like no, you gotta go slowly. Like if you my brother from the Foot Collective, Nick, he loves to give the example of like if you want to bench press big, you got to start where you are. Like
Yeah.
if you can do this many reps and this much weight, fine, okay, start there, and then and work on it and challenge yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
like go out and walk, and also these barefoot shoes or natural shoes, Vivo Barefoot Zero shoes. There's like a whole collection of them
Mm-hmm.
of different footwear brands, and there's more coming up every day. Commit to using them to using them as much as you can, and maybe at first like bring a pair of your cushioned shoes with you in a bag, because maybe your foot starts to feel a lot too much pain, because it's like working out. If you work out hard, you're going to be sore.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people like, oh, I just started wearing barefoot shoes and like my feet are hurting like crazy, and like I thought this was good for me. It's like, yes, you're feeling the pain of change. You're feeling the pain of something new happening in your body,
Yeah.
and we've been cushioned and comfortable and protected so long that it's gonna hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna hurt to change. Like any change is painful. There's like some amount of pain involved in it.
Yeah.
A real change.
Absolutely. So are there any like specific key benefits to being barefoot on the earth? I mean, I know you've discussed earthing or grounding and things like that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So this is a lot of people will you're welcome. Thank you
Yes, you
for
are welcome,
acknowledging that.
buddy.
Um, there's people who will say that this is true or not true, and at the same time, I've felt it very real in very real way that these days, if you buy a MacBook computer, there's no CD tray, and that is because it is there is an assumption that the computer will be hooked to the internet, and you can download software updates from the internet, and that's the way it is. There's an assumption that you're going to hook up to the internet, and that's how you're going to update your computer and like get the programs that you need to do whatever you need to do. Okay, so the human body was built under the assumption that it would be connected to the earth. That is how that millions of years of evolution, or
That's
whatever
a
you
sweet
subscribe
analogy.
to. Yeah, whatever you subscribe to, it's like there's an assumption that it's going to be connected to the earth. So what does that mean in practical terms? It means that your body, every function that it performs, every single function, digestion, wound healing, infection, everything creates a positive charge. And that is so because we live on the biggest negatively charged battery in like that you could ever imagine. And so every time a positive charge happens in your body, a positive something that creates a positive charge, they call it oxidation or um, uh, pro-inflammatory.
Yeah.
It's all pro-inflammatory. Then your body has a connection to the earth that then has the negative charge to neutralize it, and so it's fine. Like it can happen that way. It works. However, most humans do not ever connect to the earth. They wake up in their house on their marshmallow bed that's raised off the ground. We can talk about that if you want. And and then they step on their floor in their house, which is not grounded. It's dead floor, or in an apartment building. They put on their shoes, which has rubber, which blocks any flow of electricity or energy or charged ions. They go do their thing. They come back home. They take off their shoes and they're back in their home. And it's like days at a time, or
A
weeks
whole lot.
until
I
they
mean,
go
months, years. Yeah.
yeah, or they until they go to a beach, or there's some like socially acceptable outdoor place that you can take off your shoes, like a park or something. And it's not enough. We need more. Like it's like an antioxidant thing, and no amount of blueberries, acai bowls,
Mhm.
red wine, chocolate will provide you enough antioxidation to neutralize the processes of the body. And yet, at the same time, a good 20-30 minutes of connection with the earth will charge your negative battery up enough to go through a whole day. So like you can think about like the fascial system, like all the soft tissues of the body, like not bone, not skin, really. It's like it has the capacity to hold these negative ions, this negative charge. And then as your body creates positive charge, it goes neutralizing. It's like a battery that drains throughout the day. And then we can get into the more like energetic parts of it, which is like there's these things happening in the world around us, and by connecting with the earth we get the information, like the downloads, the software updates for our body to respond and to be able to adjust and change physiologically little things so that it can keep working in coherence with the world. And one of the best examples is jet lag.
Hmm.
So whenever we go to a new time zone, there's like a different electromagnetic frequency in that time zone, and by
Oh,
connecting with the earth quickly,
I never thought
you
of
can
this. Yeah.
yeah, by connecting with the earth quickly, the body's circadian rhythm resets, and like jet lag doesn't happen.
Sweet. That's funny. I never. I
Go
mean, I
go
haven't been
try
on a
it for
plane in a while,
yourself.
but yeah, yeah.
Don't take my word for it. Like go try it next time you fly to across the time zone. The first thing you do, go and connect with the earth 30 minutes or so, and see what happens. See how that works for you.
I was gonna say because this is almost like, well, it is kind of medicine in a sense, being connected with the earth. And I mean, what would you say is a good daily dose for people? I mean, just to go outside and sit on a park bench or go into your backyard. I mean, or go to the beach. I mean, you don't have to be out in public necessarily to connect with the earth. So
Yeah, if you
what
have a
would you say?
backyard or something, if you
What
have
would
a backyard, go do it.
so you think like 20 to 30 minutes is a good amount of a daily dose, so to speak?
It's a good starting point.
Yeah,
It's a good starting point.
yeah, because
It's a thing where more is more.
yeah,
Like this is one of those things where there's no toxicity level.
yeah, right.
What I will say is that there is this concept of like grass that gets treated with pesticides and floors that get treated with chemicals and whatnot. And I don't know where I stand on that because I walk around everywhere. I've committed to not wearing shoes unless I'm forced to. Like I just don't do it. And so if I at this point where I am in my life right now, like I go into stores and I buy whatever I need to buy. I go through the airport and I'm confident that my body can take care of it. Like that the impact or the harm of that little stint is going to be okay. And also more and more, I'm realizing that if I feel uncomfortable in a certain place because I don't feel comfortable being barefoot there, it's like a great signal, like a great interface of like where I should be and where not to be.
Hmm.
Like airports are not sustainable.
Yeah,
Like air travel is really not sustainable, and I still do it. And more I feel the pain of how much harm that causes, and really considering staying in places longer and longer if I travel somewhere. Supermarkets are not the places where we should be getting our food.
yeah,
They're just not. Like when I say should, I mean in the ideal sense of like grow your own food and have your food travel 10 feet from its origin to where you're going to eat it.
yeah. Because
Like if you go to a supermarket, you're automatically subscribing to thousands and thousands of miles of
Of travel.
transport,
Yeah.
and the whatever that company is investing their money in, whatever thing they're supporting, oil drilling, terror, whatever. I don't want to go too deep into it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like this is awareness. This is
Yeah.
awareness, and it you know, like it goes beyond feet. It's like way beyond it.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I mean, to anybody that's even kind of skeptical of what Jeff just said, I mean, there's actual, I mean, I've read research studies showing the importance not just on the environment but on your actual body and the nutrition density in food and how the nutrition density exponentially diminishes the farther the distance the food actually travels. So I mean,
And
farmers
Here's
markets and
Rosh Chef Carla.
yeah, exactly, Carl. So there you go. The distance your food travels plays an immense role on your health, and obviously we're talking about whole foods, not things that you get out of a package and things like that. I personally I don't really consider that food at that point, but um, you can go look up all the research on these things. There's plenty of studies. I'm happy to share this information with people if you want to see it too. So I completely double down in what you just said. And if you can grow your food, grow at least grow something. I mean, just that connection also. I mean, it doesn't even matter what it is. Just grow something. And I lived in an apartment. I've lived in multiple apartments. You can grow something on a balcony. You can grow something on a windowsill. It's really not
we
impossible.
we grew a lot of things
Yeah.
on a balcony on the 57th floor, and the one it's one simple question to ask to elevate your nutritional health, like your food health, is how much do I know about where this food came from?
Yeah.
Like that's a simple question, and it's not about having an answer to the question. It's about continuously asking that question, and how can I get to know more about how this food got to me, like where it was grown, who grew it, how far did it come, you know, where how was it stored, and there, you know, if I learned so much from going to a talk at that urban farm in Fort Lauderdale. I can't remember the name right now, but he talked about the difference between alive food and dead food. It's like
Mm-hmm.
when you pick something off a plant, it's still alive,
Yeah.
and then after a certain amount of time it dies,
Mm-hmm.
and like the power of eating something that's still alive, like a plant, or even, you know, even a fruit, like taking a fruit off, and like the processes that are going on within it when it's still alive, and how that nourishes your body is totally different ball game.
100%.
And so like you have someone like Carla who does raw foods, and you know, think about also when you cook something, like how much more does it get processed, and there, I think there's more to it than that also. It's like how much intention I put into my
Yeah.
meal, the gratitude, and like really like energizing food, and saying thank you, and really like really feeling like that thank you in all of your bodies, about um how amazing it is that the earth has provided this for you, for you, and the people who you get to connect with through the process of eating the food, and like
Mm-hmm.
that's what it's really all of. That's what it really comes down to.
Yeah, I mean,
You know, it's
it
like
comes full circle back to mindfulness and that awareness, because I mean, being that connected with the food and being intentional about when you're eating, and it actually makes eating more enjoyable, to be perfectly honest. And I struggle with this at times, especially when I got to go to work in the morning and things like that. But I mean, just sitting down and being present with yourself, your food, your meal, that you know where it came from, you know that it's nourishing for you, and what you said about cooking and things like that. I mean, once you cook things to a certain point, you actually kill the phytonutrients that are in the food, that live food, because you can cook it to a certain point. Not that I'm a specialist with cooking or anything like that, but I do know that this is true, and having that mindfulness around eating is something. I mean, it comes back to that emotional body, and connecting with the physical body, because there is such an emotional attachment around food that and it is it's a serious cause of disease and disorders, especially in the United States. So I couldn't agree with you more. It's so important to be connected with our food. Um,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, well, this God, there is so much emotion attached to it. And one of
Yeah.
the big things that I also learned is about eating locally and seasonally, and that comes back to like food being alive. Because if I want to eat a kiwi that comes from, because I feel like I deserve a kiwi that comes from Chile, and Chile is a bajillion miles away from here, and it's got to be, and gosh, I one of the saddest things that I've seen is being in Costa Rica. I've been spent a lot of time in Costa Rica lately, and if you drive around, there's a lot of agriculture there, and
Oh
you'll
yeah.
be driving down the street and you'll see these banana plantations,
Oh, all over. Yeah.
and every banana, every like stem of bananas is wrapped in a blue plastic bag. Like there's the tree, and then there's the banana coming, like the bushel of bananas coming off, and they wrap it in this blue thing. And it makes me so fucking sad to see that, because first there's like a million plastic bags being used because there's a million trees.
Yep.
And then I asked myself, why is there a plastic bag over the tree? And I actually asked them, it's like, oh yeah, because they spray pesticides all over it and they don't want it to get in the on the bananas. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Like, you don't think that that pesticide gets in the
Yeah. It's
bananas?
like because you put a plastic
And
bag
like
that has chemicals
the
in the
banana
plastic around it. Like
the banana has a skin. You don't eat the skin. So like, what the fuck? Like, it's
exactly.
gonna get in. It gets in through this way, not through this way. You
Yeah.
know?
That's wow. That's so interesting because I've seen and there's so much information about how because they have that fruits and vegetables and things that have that thick skin are actually quote unquote safer not to eat organically because of that thick
Yes.
skin. But when you spray pesticide in the ground and how it's irrigated and all these different things, where do you think the tree and the fruit
Yeah.
gets its nourishment from?
Fruits are mostly water,
Yeah,
and so that water comes from somewhere. And if that water is polluted with, I mean, we
whatever.
can,
Yeah,
this is already a big topic, and whatever, I
yeah.
don't.
I know that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
So back to feet. Somebody actually asked about sleeping with socks on. Is there any? I mean, I can't imagine there being an issue with sleeping with socks on, but
Well,
is there?
there's two things to it. One is, if you're sleeping on a mattress elevated off the ground, then like doesn't really matter because you're not connecting with the ground anyway. Actually, cotton socks do transmit energy, so you can actually, with your perspiration and like the cotton, like you can actually get that grounding effect with socks on.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing with socks is that they also participate in the reshaping of our feet because they are constricting. Like
Mm-hmm.
if and when I ever use socks, I use the toe socks. Like that each toe is
Mm-hmm.
separate. That way, there's not that. And plus, beyond that, foot infections don't happen because you touch something with your feet. Foot infections happen because you incubate your foot in a hot, sweaty environment with friction, and socks really contribute to that. So that could be a really big driver of foot infections.
That makes sense.
Uh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so, how can we improve the education around the health of our feet and how it relates to overall health? What are, I mean, I know the work that you're doing is even on a much deeper level, but I mean, just, I mean, broadly, how can we provide more education to people when it comes to our feet? Because most of us have them, like the overwhelming majority, and most of us use them and most of us are very unconscious about how and what we do with our feet.
So I'm part of a group called the Healthy Feet Alliance, and it's the big influencers and barefoot shoe brand owners and doctors and podiatrists and researchers, and we're working on getting the message out more broadly. And at the same time, it starts with each individual that's here, that's listening. Like, go do your experiments,
Mm-hmm.
go reconnect with your feet, go out there barefoot, and invite the people who have something to say about it into a conversation. Like, this is the concept of like working on yourself is how you help others. Like, do the work, do the experiments, and when people have like a concern or a fear about what you're doing, like invite them in for a conversation about them. Like inquire into why do you wear shoes? Like what is it that you're trying to accomplish? Like what is the base premise behind the shoe that you chose? And allow a conversation to happen and for shifts to occur in connection. It's not about preaching, it's not about being a persecutor, it's about listening.
Yeah. And
Allow
not
yourself to
criticizing. Yeah.
allow yourself to hear what they have to say, and allow them to come to their own realization about it. Like to be inspired by you and by the changes that you're making in your life. Like again, this is about way more than feet. This is about
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is about having the authority and the sovereignty to question how you're taking care of yourself, and what you're
Yeah.
doing, and how that impacts you.
And doing so in a healthy way. I think that's something that people tend to like. There's a fine line between um, questioning something because there's health motivations, and then just questioning something to question it. Um, so, I mean, I keep thinking of more questions as you keep talking about this. What are some of the, because I mean this is important because I don't even know. I think I don't think before I spoke with you or we met that anybody had ever even mentioned anything about being the importance of being barefoot. I mean, it's always just the type of shoe is so important, blah blah blah. I mean, I don't necessarily want to get into like when shoes were invented and why because I mean, I personally don't know. I mean, I guess I don't even care at this point because it doesn't really matter. But what are some of the misconceptions that you have encountered with other people that they're like, oh, but this is the benefit, this, that, the other? I mean, obviously, like we talked about a little bit, like there's some people with certain disorders that might need to wear a shoe temporarily to kind of get them to a place where they can be barefoot. But what are some of the, like the things that people are stuck on when it comes to needing to wear shoes?
So the first thing that came to mind is that that athletic shoes are good. That like athletic, like Nike,
Yeah,
Adidas shoes are good, and yeah, they've marketed, like they
that's the
put
key.
billions of dollars
Yeah,
into convincing you that the shoe is good. And here's the thing about it is that what a professional athlete needs to do their professional sport is very different than what you and I need to be healthy.
yeah.
And professional sports are not healthy. I'll say that again. Professional sports are not healthy. Those people are not. They're not going for longevity.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the game that they're playing. They are they are sacrificing their bodies in exchange for money.
I'm a
And
prime example of that. So I mean, if anybody has any questions about that, I mean, I was on the path to be a professional athlete, and I know what that sacrifice is like. So you're 100% correct on that. Sorry, keep going.
yeah, so then professional athletes wear these certain shoes to do their sport, and then they subtly like hint at the like, this will make you better. Like this is what you need. This is healthy because athletes do it, and and movement is healthy. So like so so yeah, so check in with yourself. Look at most people here, like that aren't already in the barefoot world. You'll have a pair of shoes around. Like just go study it. Like go study your shoe. Try to bend it. See how much it bends. Put your foot on top of it. Like, is it the shape of a foot, or does it look more like a rocket ship or something like that? Um, like ask yourself, if this was something you were going to put on your hands, like a glove, would this be something that you would choose for your hands? And also, like, why do you need all this cushion? Like, do you really need an inch or two of cushion? Like, what's the point? Like, what if you just wore a little piece of rubber, or not even like a piece of leather under your foot? Like, would that be enough? um that's this is really big. I argue that this is one of the biggest um health issues of our generation. And that's only because of what you're saying. Like, you never even had a question about it until someone came and said, oh, by the way, maybe barefoot is better, or maybe barefoot is more healthy. We don't know about this. We don't talk about it. There's no, like, there's not a big conversation in the media about it.
Well, like you said,
And
marketing. That's a
yeah,
huge.
it's like cigarettes in the 50s, like there
Yeah.
was no question. There's no question about its health impact until it started to become a conversation. And so this is what we're doing. We're starting to create the conversation about taking a little deeper look. And there's a big issue because these big giants have so much money, and they block the research from getting out. They block the research on barefoot movement, on barefoot running, and it's almost impossible. Like, that's why we're gathering the Healthy Feet Alliance,
Yeah.
to start to try to create some amount of energy that can spread this message more broadly.
Awesome. 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 I want to be respectful of your time, and I know we're at like 90 minutes here, but
Yes.
a couple things that I do want to start wrapping up with, in the work that you do with people via speaking, consulting, creating more awareness of sustainability. How do you go about doing these things with people, and unlocking their innate powers? What's an example, or briefly, like how you bring people in to do this kind of work?
Thank you. People come to me for, like, physical body pains, or different issues that they're having chronically, that they've not been able to get a solution for, or they're feeling blocked in some aspect of their life, emotionally or something like that. And it starts with a conversation. It starts with creating a space to start to dive in. And usually, people reach out to me, and we'll set up a conversation. And I have my rates that I charge, and I don't, the first one, like, I don't, let's just get in space and see what's up, and then
Mm-hmm.
we can figure out what we're going to do after that. And that's how it works. Then I also do work with companies, with groups of people, to help them, like, get energy flowing and create a deeper connection and more intimacy with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Doing work with men, with women. I'm see, like, where I am right now in my life is, like, I've shed so much, and I've kind of, like, put it all aside to really reconnect with myself and have this space available for whatever is asked of me, whenever and wherever that is. So that's where I am right now. And I welcome people to come and reach out. If the most special work that I've done is, like, this emotional body training. So it's almost like an initiation into a connection with the emotional body. We do, like, 6-8 weeks of, like, different exercises and experiments together, to really awaken a connection with the emotional body. And Ray just popped a little heart like thing, and he's someone that I've done we've done beautiful, powerful work together. And I love working with men, because I think we've all, in a sense, hidden our hearts in certain places.
Yeah.
We've put our, like, I found a piece of my heart that I had left, two pieces actually, over the last week, of places where I had left it somewhere because it was too painful. And it was easier to just be numb
Mm-hmm.
and put up walls to protect myself. And it's so beautiful to reconnect with these parts, and through that, reconnect with what matters to us, and
Awesome.
get closer to that,
Awesome. So
alignment.
and everybody can, like Jeff said, individuals, companies, things like that can just reach out to you directly, and start that conversation.
Yeah, like, I've done beautiful work with couples that
Nice.
that
Nice.
that need that are feeling blocked, or that aren't, having the important conversations, or the connections that they seek. We create spaces for really important, masculine, feminine work. It's
Awesome.
so important.
Awesome. So just a couple more questions. And earlier I asked you about your goals and purpose when you were entering medical school, and you said essentially you had no idea. But since making these changes and going through all of these twists and turns and growth and things. What is your purpose and some of your goals now?
My goal, my purpose is to be a space for healing,
Mm-hmm.
a space for transformation. And my purpose is to connect more deeply with myself, to connect with indigenous wisdom, to be like a generator of intimacy, of deeper connection, of healing for men and for women, and for the relationship between the two, and to be here with you,
Awesome.
in this space.
Awesome. Beautiful. And before I ask the last question, I want to acknowledge you for all the things that you've done. I mean, I think I think you might even just be a little bit younger than me. You're so young, and you've gone through a lot of different inner experiences and outer. And I will tell you, making the decision to go through medical school and get out there and then leave is not an easy one. So I want to acknowledge you and sticking to that, and not kind of just like literally falling off the face of the planet, essentially, and getting into some sort of toxic situation. And you've actually done quite the opposite of that, and worked on healing yourself from the inside out, and expanding and broadening that kind of heart space energy to others. So thank you.
That means a lot to me to hear that
Absolutely.
from you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And in closing, so last question: if this was the last time you ever had to share your thoughts, um, and you could only share
Oh my God.
three things that people should start implementing in their lives immediately to improve their health, what would they be?
First, find your center. Find your center in your body, in your authority. Like, really, really work on that. Um, Number two, connect with your emotional body. Like, whatever that means, figure it out. Go, go do it. Like, do that work. And lastly, what comes up is like, yeah, like, find your heart. Like, go like, find that connection to your heart. And it might be the same thing as the second one, but it's that important.
Yeah,
It's that
that's
important.
fine. So connect with your heart.
From there, all of the answers will be obvious. Like, there, yeah.
That's all right. So obviously your handle on Instagram is at theurbanbarefoot. Is there any other ways people can connect with you or reach you or find you on the internet and things that you're doing, or is that the best way?
Yeah, I try not to spread myself out too much with these things. I don't look at my Facebook like at all
Yeah.
anymore. And I have a website that I'm rebuilding, and there's a link to it through my Instagram page anyway, so theurbanbarefoot.co. And there, and you can reach me through here or through there or through the, channels of the I don't know, like, just yeah, that's where I keep in touch with the digital world,
Awesome.
through
Awesome.
Instagram.
So again, I thank you for coming on here. I appreciate your time and the energy that you put into this, and I also appreciate everybody watching. Thank you very much for taking your time on a Thursday, or even if you're watching this on a rerun, because this is going to be on my website, www.mindful.doctor, also on my YouTube channel, The Art of Mindful Medicine, and of course it's going to be on Instagram. So thank you guys very much. I hope you enjoyed this. I know I did. A lot of really cool information, beautiful story from Jeff. And of course, as always, we're on Instagram Live, and I always announce when there's going to be new episodes of The Art of Mindful Medicine. And like always, I end with a quote. And today is from Eckhart Tolle. And he says, the only actions that do not cause opposing reactions are those that are aimed at the good of all. They are
Mm.
inclusive, not exclusive. They join, they don't separate. They are not for my country, but for all of humanity. Not for my religion, but the emergence of consciousness in all human beings. Not for my species, but for all sentient beings and all of nature. So I think that's an awesome way to sum up this conversation. I know that for anybody that wants that quote, I'm gonna post it tomorrow on Instagram. I mean, it's such a beautiful way of putting things, and I think you managed to embody that in your life, and you kind of displayed that throughout this conversation. So again, thank you for doing the work that you're doing, being the light that you are being, and for coming on here and giving me the opportunity to spend more time with you, even if it is digitally, and converse and share our crazy ideas and thoughts and things like that. So, and again, thank you everybody for watching. And as always, stay awesome, stay mindful, and we will see you next time. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
Much love, Lemon.